I learned early that when people decide who you are before you open your mouth, fighting it only makes them double down. So I didn't fight. I stayed quiet. I stayed small. I let them underestimate me because honestly it was safer that way. But the night I said one sentence I was never supposed to say in a voice I was taught to forget, everything cracked open. And the people who thought they owned the room suddenly realized they didn't even understand the rules of it. Yeah, that night changed my life. I was 23, working a charity gala at a private estate outside the city, the kind of place where the driveway alone costs more than my mom's house ever will. I was wearing a black server's uniform that felt designed to erase no name tag, no personality, just hands and feet moving where they're told. The guests barely looked at us. When they did, it was like looking through glass. And honestly, I preferred it that way. Invisibility doesn't hurt when you've been practicing it your whole life. The crowd was full of executives, donors, politicians, people who spoke in confident half-laughs and never finished sentences because they didn't have to. I moved between them with a tray of wine glasses that cost more than my rent. I'd done this dozens of times. Keep your eyes down, don't spill, don't exist. Then I saw him. Everyone shifted when he walked in. Conversations didn't stop, but they softened like a room instinctively lowering its voice. He was older, silver-haired, built like someone who never had to ask permission. People leaned toward him, not the other way around. Later, I'd learn he was a retired industrial tycoon, a legend in certain circles, feared in others. To me, in that moment, he was just another rich man who'd never see me. A supervisor waved me over and whispered, "Top shelf. Take it to Mr. Caruso." Something in my chest tightened, but I nodded. Just another table. Just another man. Don't think. I approached from his side, careful, quiet. "Wine, sir," I said, professional neutral. He turned to look at me, and for a split second his expression slipped. Not interest, not arrogance, shock, and then my mouth betrayed me. I don't even remember deciding to do it. The words came out the way they used to when I was a kid sitting at a kitchen table while my grandmother cooked a dialect so old and specific most people don't even recognize it as language anymore. A respectful phrase. Formal. Intimate. The kind of thing you only say to elders in certain families. The air went dead. His hand froze halfway to the glass. His eyes locked on mine like I'd just said his name in a dream. People around us paused, not fully understanding why, but sensing something had gone off script. He leaned closer and replied in the same dialect. Not accented, not rehearsed. Real. He asked where I learned to speak like that. My heart was slamming so hard I could hear it in my ears. I should have laughed it off. Should have switched back to English. Instead, I said, "My family." A long time ago. He stared at me like I'd cracked a door he'd spent decades barricading. He said only people from one place spoke that way. His place. His village. That's when I knew I'd made a mistake. Or maybe the opposite. I backed away as soon as I could, every nerve on fire. In the staff hallway, my hands were shaking so badly I had to set the tray down. All I could hear was my mother's voice from years ago telling me some things were better left buried, some histories were dangerous if you let them breathe. After the event, I was sure I'd be fired. Instead, the host's son found me near the exit. He looked uncomfortable, like someone who'd just realized the world was more complicated than he'd been taught. He apologized for his father's behavior, said he'd never seen him react like that before, asked about the language. I gave him nothing. Just enough to be polite. Just enough to get out of there. The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. Then my manager at the diner told me an older man had called asking about my schedule. Polite, persistent. Didn't leave a name. My stomach dropped. The message came that night. Through the sun. A request to talk. No pressure, no strings, just a conversation. I didn't sleep. I met him at a small coffee shop on a Sunday afternoon. Public. Neutral. Safe. He came alone. No suit, no entourage. Just an old man with tired eyes and hands that trembled when he picked up his cup. He said my grandmother's name before I did. That's how I knew this wasn't curiosity. It was history. He told me everything. About the girl he loved and left. About choosing obedience over courage and calling it responsibility. about building an empire while knowing the cost had been paid by someone else. He didn't excuse it, didn't dress it up. He just told the truth, and it was ugly and human and heavy. I asked him if he knew about the baby, my mother. He broke. Not theatrically, quietly. Said no. Swore it. I believed him, and that scared me more than if I hadn't. I walked out of that cafe feeling like gravity had changed. Like the ground under my life had shifted just enough to make everything unstable. And then the world found out. Someone leaked the story. Social media ate it alive. Headlines wrote my life for me. Hidden heir. Secret bloodline. Reporters showed up at my jobs, building my classes. The catering company dropped me. Too much attention. Not worth the risk. My mom had a panic attack so bad she collapsed in our kitchen. Sitting in a hospital waiting room watching machines beep while strangers speculated about us online, something inside me snapped. That man, the one everyone feared, showed up and didn't try to control the narrative. He didn't offer hush money or demand loyalty. He took responsibility. He stood between us and the chaos. His son did too. Calm, grounded, protective without being possessive. He said something I'll never forget. People like us don't get to pretend this doesn't matter, but we can decide how it matters. We chose to tell the story once, on our terms. No drama, no spectacle, just truth. And something strange happened. People listened. They saw a young woman who'd been invisible, a mother who'd carried silence like armor, and an old man who finally admitted his power didn't protect him from regret. The noise faded, but the changes didn't. My mother met her father for the first time in her 50s. No forgiveness speeches, no hugs. Just two people acknowledging the damage and deciding not to pass it on. I finished school. We started a scholarship in my grandmother's name. Languages, stories, things that don't survive unless someone chooses to carry them forward. Months later, we stood in the village where it began. It wasn't dark, it wasn't cursed, it was beautiful. The pain had never been the land. It had been people deciding who was worth listening to. Standing there, I realized something. I didn't win by becoming powerful. I won by refusing to stay invisible when it mattered, by speaking in my own voice even when it made powerful people uncomfortable. So here's what I want to ask you. When someone underestimates you, when the world decides your value before you speak, do you stay quiet to survive, or do you choose the moment to be heard and let the consequences fall where they may? Was what I did right, or did I open doors that should have stayed closed? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Argue with me. Tell me your story. Because the truth is, silence protects the powerful. And stories like this only matter if we're brave enough to talk about them.